Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Next Gen Shoals Mayoral Forum for the City of Tuscumbia. My name is Connor White, and I'm the president of Next Gen. Thank you for joining us tonight. Before we get started, I want to introduce Next Gen to you all and tell you a little bit about what we do. Next Gen Shoals is a young professional organization in partnership with the Shoals Chamber of Commerce. Our mission is to find and foster the next generation of leaders in the Shoals. We actively work to connect young people together in the area through networking opportunities and provide opportunities for young people to learn and grow together through things like our Lunch and Learn series. We also work to engage young people through supporting our communities. In 2016, Next Gen hosted the inaugural mayoral debates in Norton Auditorium. Not only was that event successful, we felt like it was a necessary resource and opportunity for our communities to get to know the candidates running for leadership in their respective municipalities. We also feel that it is equally, if not more important now, to be able to bring these candidates running for office in front of the community. In light of COVID-19 and the challenges of these unprecedented times, we are proud to present these virtual mayoral forums. Tonight's forum will feature Carrie Bubba Underwood, the current mayor of Tuscumbia, who is running unopposed to retain his seat. Thank you to the Shoals Chamber of Commerce, not only for their support with these forums, but for their continued support and encouragement of Next Gen Shoals as a whole. We are excited to be a part of their Vote 2020 campaign, and I would also like to thank Next Gen Shoals board members for their continued support and their efforts in organizing these events. Moderating tonight's forum is Pete Key. Mansfield Key III is an international motivational speaker, leading growth development strategist known to most as Old Pete Key. He is a coach, consultant, speechwriter, certified HIV/AIDS instructor, social entrepreneur, and mentor. He attended DeKalb College and received certification in grief counseling, motivational speaking, and multiple relationship programs at Auburn University. He has authored 3 books and released multiple DVDs and CDs and curriculums. His proudest accomplishment, other than his relationship with God, is his devotion to his loving wife, Charlene, and his 2 daughters, Erin Ruth and Joy Danae. He is a member of the 2016-17 Leadership Alabama class and current Rotary President of the Florence Rotary Club. Pete's purpose and passion are sharing his stories and strategy to help others. He believes that everyone has something special, but sometimes people need others to help them discover it. I'm proud to introduce to you my friend, Pete Key.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Tuscumbia Mayoral Forum. My name is Pete Key. This program is presented by Next Gen Shoals, and I am so excited. Now tonight, we're going to have this candid conversation with the mayor of Tuscumbia by the name of Carrie Underwood. Now, when I first heard the name Carrie Underwood, I started thinking of the country singer, Jesus Take the Wheel and all of that. And I said, so do I call him Mayor Carrie? Do I call him Mayor Underwood? Do I call him Mr. Underwood? And then people begin to tell me that he has another name and they call him Bubba. And I started thinking to myself, like, a candid conversation with Mayor Underwood? That sounds okay. A candid conversation with Carrie Underwood? They would think I'm talking about the country singer. But a candid conversation about being the mayor and leadership with a guy by the name of Bubba? Mr. Underwood, what should I call you tonight? Before we get started, do I call you Bubba? And how did you get the name Bubba in the Mr. Carrie Underwood? Just tell me, before we even get started, how did you get the name Bubba?
I think that's great. Let's start with that. And I would say that you feel free to call me any of those names you want, because all 3 of those are endearing to me. So I got the name from my brother. Okay. He's older than me. My brother, when he was born, could not pronounce the word brother as he should have. And so he started calling me Bubba. It stuck. I want to say how hard that stuck. Through my younger years, through my high school years, through my college years, until today. And I used it to my advantage when I won my first election, because I made my name the longest on the ballot. Kerry, Bubba, Underwood, and my name was this long. So
wow.
And so that's the endearing story behind the name Bubba. It's somebody.
I mean, that Bubba, you think about Rick and Bubba, Bubba is almost like that, that's that name that you hear a lot, hey, Bubba, but you don't think of, Mayor Bubba,
Well, I will say that there's a lot of the typical nuances to the name that I don't possess. I'm not the typical Bubba in that regard, though I am a strong Alabamian and happy to lead. But I feel like if you want to call me Bubba, that's endearing, then I would encourage you to do so, Pete.
Wow.
But you can call me Mayor. You can call me anything you want. I'm happy to be with you and looking forward to visit with you tonight.
Super. And depending upon the question, I may ask Bubba the question I may ask the mayor the question. But I'm excited to have this conversation. I begin to, we don't have like a time limit, but of course, we want to ask as many questions and just allow the people to kind of listen in on our conversation. Right. It's almost like having a conversation. It's candid, it's real. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about race. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, right, but just allowing people to listen in. But I heard, I got to share this. I began to ask someone that I knew, and I said, hey, man, tell me a little bit about this Bubba. I mean, he's Kerry Underwood. If you could just, I don't know him. I can read a bio and I hear all these things. And he gave you a compliment that I said, that is great for a politician or anyone of any caliber. And he said, the one thing about him, he said, I've been knowing him for so many years and I've seen him do so many things and I've seen him help so many people. And he said, Pete, I'm just going to be honest. I don't know if he's a Democrat or Republican. All I know is Bubba just helped people. And I started thinking, I've only met him twice. And the first time I met you, remember we were at the Juneteenth event. Yes, and I was like, he got on the stage and he was comfortable, and it was at the Willie Green Center locally. And, you gave a great moment of just acknowledging the Juneteenth. And then the next time I saw you, it was at the Project XYZ, where you were, of course, Mayor Underwood there. This is Project Economic Development. And I just see you just flowing in so many different arenas. I just want to ask you a question. Like, what is your priority? What are your priorities as mayor? Like, what is that thing that you want to make sure you do to add value and enhance the life for the residents of Tuscumbia, Alabama? What are your priorities? Okay,
I would like to start that answer with a quote, if I could, and then I'm going to personalize it for you. One of my favorite presidents of all time was Abraham Lincoln, and there's a quote he said that I'm going to read out to you, and then I'll talk about that. He said, "You can have anything you want if you want it badly enough. You can be anything you want to be, do anything you set out to accomplish, if you hold to that desire with singleness of purpose." That's the gist of it for me, is singleness of purpose.
Singleness of purpose.
I have a desire to be a part of people's lives in a leadership way that enhances them and makes them better. My singleness of purpose is Tuscumbia. By saying that, and this may lead into a lot of other conversations, you mentioned color with Republican, Democrat, red and blue. It doesn't matter. If you are in this community, I work for you. And I can find ways by serving and by putting forth a vision that can make this city better. I have to believe I can do that. Now, it's not singleness by myself. There is a team, plurality of leadership, but personally, my single purpose is to make this city better. And I believe I can do that. And I hope in the first 4 years, we've made strides in that direction. If not, I can tell you the next 4 years, we will.
That is super. And even just by you even saying that, to be running unopposed, obviously something you're doing right. Obviously it's something that you get this, just to have an opportunity to do 4 more years. Like, sometimes we don't get an opportunity to do it again. We do it one time and that's it. But when you look at your priorities and you say, okay, in 2016, this is who I was, coming into a position that I've never been in before, first time being a mayor, the city of Tuscumbia, looking at some of the needs, looking at the people, and you say, okay, this is what I want to accomplish. And then here it is 4 years later, you get a chance to look back at 4 years, but also look ahead to 4 more years. What are some of the things that you didn't, I don't want to use the word didn't get a chance to accomplish, but maybe you wanted to do more of, and then some of the things that you want to make sure you do in the next 4 years that you didn't get to do in the last 4 years?
Okay, fair question. So a lot of the needs that Tuscumbia had were related to such things as infrastructure, budgeting, finances, sales tax revenue, that sort of thing. That sounds boring, I know, but
yeah, that's part of it, right?
It is. In the beginning, what we did as a mayor and council is we took the city's finances, and what I always do first is I analyze. I don't want to run off in a direction. I didn't make a whole lot of specific promises that I would do because I needed to learn and visit with people. And we had lots of those little meetings where I would sit in a room with 20 and 30, and I would talk about a few things I wanted to do, but I spent time listening as well. And so what I had set out to do at the beginning changed during the times that I was campaigning, which was about a year long. But one of the things we did, and I want you to hear the financing side of it because it changed the rules for us. For the entire 4 years, we took the city's finances and noted that a lot of the debt was short term and the payments were high with those bonds. We negotiated that and set some long term and some short term, dropped the payment by $50,000 a year, and infused $2.3 million into our budget, into our capital improvements. So we dropped our payments, took the $50,000, started an SRO program in the schools to keep the kids safe, and had $2.3 million to invest in our city to say, hey, we've got things that need to be done. And so now we have the finances to do it. And the thing is, that started this whole process of the things that we've accomplished along the way. And I'm very proud of the fact that we was able to start with that. We believe in having small successes and large successes. Later on, those later ones take time. So the small successes was get these finances in order, but that turned into be one of the larger ones because all the investments we made in our infrastructure came because of that. So with that, I'm very happy. Our budget is always tight. We're not the anchor in sales tax revenue of the 4 cities here, but we have a healthy budget now. And we play within the lines. We make sure that our budget is appropriate, that we spend what we bring in, and that we invest it back in the community. And actually, in a very weird way, during this COVID time, we're very conservative with our expenses. We've been able to, I'm going to get out of talking money here eventually, but I got
No, you're good. This is good because at the end of the day, we all want to talk about money. Either we don't have enough or we want more. so I totally understand that, but go ahead, finish.
All right. So during these times, we were very conservative and made sure that we were going to control our expenses because we didn't know what this economy was going to do to us.
Wow.
How much our revenue would drop, if it would drop. So we had to be conservative, and we were. And I want to give a shout out to all the department heads for the hard work they've done. When somebody would retire or resign, we would just hold the position. We'd declare it vacant, but we wouldn't fill it for a while. And so we've got departments that have been working really, really hard with less people. And because of that, we have really come into a situation where we may be better off at the end of this COVID than we were at the beginning of it. And it shows what you can do when you adjust and you plan and you analyze, you set a vision. It kind of shows what happens from that. So part of what I want to do is thank the employees of the city of Tuscumbia for the hard job they've done, and they do it for the right reasons. They work from the heart, and it's fun to see. So prior 4 years, we've allocated our budget. We've changed some of those things, and we use that to do a lot of stuff. We paved 7 miles of roads, and for Tuscumbia, that's like manna from heaven. That's a big deal for them. We upgraded our police department, our fire department. We built pocket parks. We improved our spring park. We've invested in our 2 municipal buildings at Willie Green and Multipurpose Center. We have really made the place look like as important as it is. Very proud of that. Next 4 years, I'd like to say we're going to do more of the same. We're going to continue to invest in our infrastructure and in the facilities that people use because quality of life matters.
Quality of life matters. Yes.
And I think we're set up for that. I think we've set the table not only for the quality of life issues, but for people who say, I'm thinking about opening a business. Where should I go? Well, they now know that Tuscumbia is open. Tuscumbia is ready to approach, to work with you. We have incentives even for small businesses. They want to come in here. Right. We'll help them get started and help them find a home. And they have a mayor that will be their best friend. And that's the truth of it. I will.
That's super. And speaking of Tuscumbia, there are some new businesses that have opened up, and that's great. Let me ask you this question. Now, Next Gen shows the young professional organization that put this together. What efforts will your administration take to make Tuscumbia and the greater shows more attractive, sort of like a Nashville or an Atlanta, like to make it more attractive, to make the ones who live here want to stay here, and to attract others to want to come here as young people? What do you have in place to have those attractions to make them want to come, and then the ones who are here to make them want to stay?
That's almost a community issue more than just a Tuscumbia issue, but I can answer both. So for Tuscumbia, one of the things that we've done, this relates to economic development, it relates to quality of life, and it relates to vibrancy in our downtown. We spent 3+ years working with the University of North Alabama to say, we would like to have you here in our downtown. UNA is a regional community college. They're not just for the city of Florence. They have a huge economic impact on that city, but they're for all of us. All 4 cities and surrounding areas pour into that university. And we said, we'd like to have you here with us so we can have an environment that's vibrant, that's filled with young people, that allows them to come and stay and enjoy the community, enjoy the people who are here. So I say that to say that after that amount of time, UNA announced last year at our State of the City address that they're going to move here into a building that we're having renovated. They're going to have a physical presence in the city of Tuscumbia. And that to me is almost legacy. That's a big deal for us.
Oh, that's big.
It's the first time they've come back into Carver County. Back in the day, they were here at LaGrange, and now they have actually come back for the first time.
UNA coming back to the city.
Yes, when we're not taking from, we're just adding to, we're expanding their footprint. And so that gives younger people a chance to be introduced to the city of Tuscumbia. And now, as far as the community as a whole, it's a big deal for us, the talent that we produce, knowing that their wages that they want to earn are found in other places. Huntsville, Atlanta, just
right.
Those places are close. 2 hours, 4 hours is not far away, and they're going to want to go there and make those earnings and find those jobs. So for us, we need to make sure that we have an environment, and I keep using this phrase, Pete, but we set the table, and then the rest of it will happen. We need to set the table.
Build it, they'll come, right?
Sure. We need to set the table to where people want to stay here.
That's good.
And I think if you heard my what I said at the ribbon cutting at Project XYZ, if we locate a business here that gives Joe and Jane taxpayer good paying jobs, that's empowering. You empower so much by giving them that. That gives junior taxpayer an opportunity to say, I'm going to finish with this degree, and I'm going to be able to work here because my dad did, my mom did, and there's all these other entities floating around here that I can participate in, or I can be an entrepreneur and just start up on my own. Yes. And we can encourage all those venues for the talent that comes out of here to say, you know what, I think I'm going to stay a while and see if I can't become something really, really great in the shows area. So that's a community issue. It's a Tuscumbia issue as well.
That's super, because that's one of the things that, just the Quad Cities in general, just holding on to the talent that we have. Now, the other thing I want to ask you, so always say that when we're in a defining moment, either we define the moment or the moment will define us. So when you look at all of the things that are taking place with the recent and local national unrest surrounding the issues of racism, inequality, what action will you and your administration take to make Tuscumbia an inclusive, safe community for minorities and people of color? What do you have in place? Because when we look at, throughout the United States, it's just this, the race issue, all of these things are just here. What are you doing in Tuscumbia to kind of, make it equal, make the playing field equal?
That's a great question. And, this one, you and I could talk about it a long time if you so choose, because it's such a topic for this community, for the country. And I'm okay to talk about it. So let me tell you where I think my job begins and ends. The bookends for me, Pete, is where people interact with each other. Okay. I have, my own set of morals and principles, but in the end, I make sure that people who live here in Tuscumbia or this community, how they interact with each other is what matters. No one should infringe on someone else. If you come here and your personal accountability, your personal responsibility turns into an opportunity to become something great, there should be no one in this community that says, I'm going to put the brakes on that because I don't like whatever about you. Doesn't matter. So on a one-on-one basis, we make sure that if a situation occurs, we put the brakes on it. Now, I have a story I want to tell about that. If you've got just a second, if I could tell.
Go ahead. It's just us. We're having a conversation. I mean, please share.
All right. So Tuscumbia has been an inclusive community if you go back the full gamut of the 1820s until now, though not perfectly. There was a day back when the Trail of Tears was coming through here, and this community reached out to the federal government and said, documented, we may be the only place that's documented, and said, stop what you're doing. Let them stay here with us. We don't like what you're doing. It's not appropriate. It's not fine. These are good people. Let them stay. Well, of course, the Trail of Tears continued. But this community has not always had that same perfect history, which none of us do. So the story I want to tell is a real one. There is a structure here that large building back in the day was a theater, and it's a historic theater. It was called the Tuscumbian. And now what I didn't know until I'm going to say maybe a couple of years ago is that building had two entrances, one for the whites, one for the blacks. They had their own entrance, and they had to go up and sit in the balcony, and that's where they had to stay. I'm disappointed that's part of our history. Because of the prior. I wouldn't have thought that would have happened here, but it did because some person allowed it. Now, I know there's plurality. We've talked about that before, but in the end, if one person makes a move in the right direction, others will follow, my opinion. And so today that building is owned by an African-American. So the person who years ago couldn't have used their entrance today owns the whole building. Now that makes me proud that you can come to Tuscumbia, hopefully this whole community, and we will meet you and greet you based on who you are, and that is it. That's all that matters to us. And I'll tell you, even if you're not what you need to be, we'll help you get there.
I believe that. I mean, there's a quote that says, treat people as if they are who they ought to be, and you help them to become who they're capable of being. So you have to treat them as if they are who they ought to be, and then you help them to become. But if you treat them like they're animals, if you treat them like they don't matter, if you treat them like they don't have purpose, they don't have skin in the game, and they're not relevant, then they begin to act like that. So to be able to say that you're included is great. And even speaking of that, what do you do to actively seek diversity and diverse voices when it comes to policies in your municipalities, jobs, civic engagements, when it comes to age, race, gender, sexual orientation, all of these things? What do you have in place to make sure these things are that equal opportunity is there for everyone?
Okay, so first of all, that starts at a higher level than me in the first place. There are federal mandates that say you have to treat people fairly. The point is, do I, as mayor of this local municipality, make sure that those guidelines are followed? So we have functions that are in all districts for all people, no matter what your color is, no matter what district you live in, no matter what your income is or your social standing. It doesn't matter. Everyone has a seat at the table. I will say that as a city, we effort all of our functioning boards to have representation from every district.
That's good.
We're not there yet, but we effort that. And I want to say something that we do fail in, and I think I have an idea after the analytical side of it about why we do. Employment-wise, today, our employees don't represent our city based on minorities. Now that is a failure on my part.
So how do you balance that? How do you if there's 20% minority or 10% and having that represented, whether it's police force or leadership within the city, how do you level that? What do you do? What do you put in place to make sure, because a lot of people say, well, do we need affirmative action to make sure this, or do we just need leadership to say we're going to seek out those people? I don't know what as a leader of that city. And of course, there are some things that you have power to control, and there are some things that you just have influence, and there's a difference between having control and influence. What could you do, or what are some of the things that you've done to try to level that playing field personally or professionally?
Certainly. Before I answer that, would you prefer control or influence? You?
Well, I would prefer influence,
yes,
because I believe that, you can control things, but a lot of times it's just when you're in the vicinity of whatever's taking place. Right. Whereas influence gives you the opportunity to make impact, because someone has to give you that influence. And that means that's give and take. But that's just my take. I don't know. Some people want power and control. I'm going to make everyone do anything. And influence is I think, is just as strong. If I know I may be talking too much, but I heard a person say that, the man is the head, but the woman has the influence because she's the neck, and she turns. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think influence is very important, and I think influence is somewhat earned. But to have influence, you really have to be that part. You have to be in amongst the circle of influence you're trying to have. You can't influence from a distance, is what I'm trying to say.
No, that's good.
We do have a board that takes care of the hirings for the city. That's not where the problem is. The problem doesn't lie there. The problem, I believe, lies, and it has nothing to do with quotas. That word doesn't have to be used. We're using old, outdated methods of advertising for jobs, saying, hey, this job is open in our PD or our fire department or our park and rec. We're using old, antiquated ways of saying, this job is open, here's a pay rate, come if you want to. And of course, we do that. It follows the letter of the law. It's not reaching the right people. And so if I would say very candidly and transparently, if I've had a failure in my first 4 years, I've not made a larger effort to make sure that everyone has an opportunity, and by that knowledge of there are places you can work in Tuscumbia. And that's a failure on my part, and one that I plan to rectify.
Wow, that is good. Now, the Shoals is a vibrant, interconnected area consisting of 4 main cities. We talk about Sheffield, we talk about Tuscumbia. You've been the mayor of Tuscumbia. What steps will you take to build those working relationships with the other cities that are here? A lot of times, sometimes they say you guys feel like an island, and then Florence feel like, we're on the other side of the bridge, and Muscle Shoals feel like how do you work together with the other mayors in the other cities to make this entire region vibrant for all people?
That part of the job is really one of the most surprising that I've had to encounter. When I ran and worked and earned this mayor spot, I really, in my mind, was thinking I will be managing the one city. Wasn't aware of the expansion that would be required of this role in the entire community. And that's a good thing. I'm not complaining about it. I wasn't prepared for it. So it's fun in that the other 3 cities, mayors, we meet and we'll talk, we'll have a lunch, and we'll discuss A, B, C, and D, and what if this and what if that. That's the very easy level, first beginning of working together. But we have several things that we do and has been done for a long time. Animal control for this county is 3 cities in the county. We all work together. We have the Solid Waste Authority. That's 3 cities in the county.
I didn't know that.
I am the chair this year of the MPO. That's a Metropolitan Planning Organization. I think because I'm not really that good with acronyms. Federal money comes to the state sends it here, and that organization decides where the 80-20, where the federal monies go in street paving. Now, you're talking 4 cities, a bunch of towns, and 2 counties, 150,000 people, and we have to sit together and come up with a short-term and a long-term plan for those monies. Now, Now, that's pretty important.
Yes, it is.
Road paved. Everybody wants their street paved. And
yes.
so another way we work.
How do you decide which one, you know?
I know. And they have been all very accommodating, and it's kind of fun to see that play out. And maybe one of the biggest ways that has been a joy to me is working with Kevin Jackson and the CETA Group and the SIDC. That fund was set up, I've missed it every time, I'm going to say 30 years ago. And so a 0.5 cent sales tax comes into the fund, roughly $8 million a year, and they take those monies and recruit with it. Now, that was the concept before me, but I have enjoyed being able to go to those meetings and say, we are working together. This is odd. I want to say that there's not another structure like this in the state, and I'm not sure outside of that. We're talking about 2 counties separated by a river.
Yeah, separated by the river.
Maybe joined by the river. Maybe I said that wrong. And the 4 cities and all the people inside. And if a big industry comes in and sits down in Carver County, the folks in Lauderdale County have to know that they help pay for that.
Wow, that's great.
And then the big city in Lauderdale County comes and sets itself in the county or in the city of Florence. People of Carver County help pay for that. And that is it's a very unique, eye-opening and proud moment for me to see how the community says, we're okay with that. Thank you for representing all of us. Wow. And so that is how we work together in one of the largest ways I can think of because of that empowerment thing. I really believe in good paying jobs, and that is something I've been real proud of. We also have, we go to DC, we have delegates that we go to DC and visit with the folks there, and we have, the mayor's meetings and, really get into and talk about that Parker study, but I don't know if that's
and that Parker, that brought a lot of people together. It made all the cities look at what are the advantages of coming together? What are maybe some of the disadvantages of coming together? How does it benefit one city versus another? I mean, that study really brought some light. And even just speaking of the cities coming together, when we look at just the financial world with COVID-19 affecting pretty much every financial structure in the world, I guess I could say. What are you doing to mitigate those challenges and kind of bolster a local economy as a mayor? How do you boost it? How do we support? What are the things you have in play after this coronavirus and even during the coronavirus that could keep the economic standard where it needs to be to help those businesses that may have took a hit during COVID-19 and maybe they had to shut down, or maybe they had to cut back, or maybe someone got unemployed, or whatever the case may be? What are you doing in that arena?
So it has been a very difficult time for what we call brick and mortar retail. And by that, I mean the storefronts that have a physical presence in town. And now that's been for Tuscumbia, Muscle Shoals, Sheffield, Florence, all of us. It's been a hard day for that. There have been some of the smaller businesses that just could not survive it. They have to have the walk-in traffic. They have to have people in their aisles and picking their stuff. And there have been some that just could not survive that. But there have been others that have changed how they do things. As opposed to strictly being a brick and mortar, they've expanded into other ways of engaging the public to say, hey, shop here with me. I'm doing a Facebook Live. I've got a website you can order from. I'll meet you at the curb with the items that you've purchased. And they have changed the way they've done business. Oh, yeah. That didn't require, I'm just got to be honest, Pete, that didn't require a thing out of me, because the entrepreneur is a very sophisticated, hardworking type person. Male, female, doesn't matter. They are just a very unique group of people. And I have watched them take a bad situation, and really and truly, we had the mandates, right, from Montgomery that said, okay, you got to close your doors, or you got masks or whatever. They did that for the mandate because they want to take care of the community. They're here to serve the people as well. They did that way before they were told to, at their own detriment. And so I have such a proud feeling about the people who are in this community, of all 4 of them, that say, I'm a shop owner, I am an entrepreneur, and this is who I am. They're different people. So we have helped to engage in that. We want to make sure that people know how they can connect with the stores and advertise, help advertise for them. I will say that TVA has also reached out with some funds and said, here's some funds. They need to be matched, of which the utility department did most of it. And we passed those funds along.
Yeah, because economic development is so important. And there's some businesses that just couldn't survive. You know what took place. They just, personally, I took a hit. My business. But being able to do something different again, even when I said earlier about being in that defining moment, how you define that moment determines everything. And so, as a mayor, being unopposed, having the opportunity to get 4 more years to make an impact, 4 more years to have influence, 4 more years to implement those things that you see that may help everyone in your community. What would you say the 1 or 2 things that you want to do these next 4 years so you can say, you know what, economically, I would like to bring Disneyland to Tuscumbia. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you took the words right out.
What is that wild dream? Like if money was not an issue, money was not an issue. I always talk about the 4 Ps. You have to have a picture. You have to have a plan, you have to get prepared, and you have to pursue. If you could paint a picture and money was not the issue, and Mayor Carrie Underwood, Mr. Bubba, had the blank check, and you could write the check for any amount, and you could change your entire city around, and money was not an issue, you had a blank check, what would you do? What would you open up? What would you bring into the city?
So you realize
Carrie Underwood to do a concert? No, just kidding.
It's a difficult thing to ask a CPA to take money out of the equation. That's difficult, but I'm going to do it for you, man, because you're Pete. Okay. Tuscumbia is a very unique place. It's unique because of its history, and so whatever that we could do with a blank check would have to marriage the history with the current. And we've been actually trying to do that for 4 years. But if I could make this city anything that it could be, that I think it should be, it has to be something that you experience, because this city is unique enough. You have to be here to experience it. And that's not just the surroundings or the tourist attractions. It's the people who live here. Wow. I would love to make it the place to come to be that entrepreneurial kind of person. I wish we could have the place here that people would come from Florida. People would vacate Atlanta to come to Tuscumbia to say, I think I can set up roots there. I can grow my business there because that's the place to be, because I experience the city. It makes me creative and I can become something special. So even retail that struggles, like malls are struggling right now.
Yes.
People still take the time when the virus has subsided, they will still take the time to go and experience something. Tuscumbia has something to experience. And I would like to marry the experience with the entrepreneurs who say, I've got an idea that I can create, I can become, I can support my family, and I can even change the world with something that I have to offer. I would like for Tuscumbia to have that designation, that mark of history who they are.
The experience. Come to Tuscumbia and experience the experience. I like that. With Bubba, Carrie Underwood, our mayor. I think that's great because I always heard Ronnie Floyd had this thing about vision, and he said it has to be clear, concise, concrete, and compelling. So when you have something that's clear and concise and concrete and compelling, like an experience, it makes someone come and say, hey, I want to become a part of this. I see Tuscumbia going somewhere. I see the people have bought into the city. So this is new tonight. I know Butler Kane has done he's going to do the other forums, but I'm just going to deviate for a moment if this is okay with you.
It's okay with me.
We're going to play this little game. Are you okay? Are you ready?
I really don't know if I'm ready, but I'm going to.
So I'm going to give you the rules. Here are the rules. I'm going to give you a word, and I want you to give me the first thing that comes to your mind, but you can only give me maybe 4 words to describe the word that I give you. You can use less, but you can't use more.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. So if I said leadership, you would give me 3 or 4 words to describe leadership.
Okay.
Can you do it?
I don't know, but I'm going to give you everything I've got in this next whatever.
All right, I'm going to put you on the clock. You're going to be a timer at the bottom. You get 20 seconds. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na, da-na-na-na, da. Like the Jeopardy music, right?
I'm sweating the timer, man.
Hopefully we don't have to pay for that, right? Next gen, you're going to have to pay that bill, right? All right. So are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Word, leadership.
Servant.
Shows.
Ooh. Experience.
Music.
I'm just using one word. Do you want me to?
One word is good. I like that. One word is good.
Music. Identification.
Family.
Oh. Wife and child.
Coronavirus.
Oh. I can't use that word. I'm kidding. Opportunity.
Racism.
Opportunity.
Desolate title.
I could expand on that one, but I'll.
If you want to pause, you want to pause. When I say racism, what comes to mind for you?
I want to pause on that one.
Okay.
Opportunity, twofold.
Okay.
One, as a white man, I have things to learn, and I think I have learned a lot, but I know I've not learned it all. So the opportunity for me would be to learn. Opportunity on the other side would be to make things better. Now that's not one-sided.
Got you.
Do you think, and you can make this rhetorical or you can answer, do you think there are opportunities here in the shows that says I can come together with a divisive subject? Because that was the first word I almost said when you said racism. Can I come together on a divisive subject and work with either black, white, any minority, any person of color? Can I come together and instead of doing this, do this? Is there opportunities for us to do that? Or are we so polarized that someone's going to discontinue me, and that's not the right word, discount me because of the color of my skin?
I think there are opportunities to come together. I think sometimes the lack of understanding, like you have one side saying, look at me, this is what I see. The other side saying, look at me, this is what I see. And I always give the analogy of, I don't know if I have any money, or I normally use a coin and say, what do you see, heads or tails? And one side's looking at heads, the other side's looking at tails.
Yeah,
and they can argue all day, but can we agree that it's 25 cents? And I think that we'll never be able to fully reach our destiny until we embrace our history. And the only way we leave a true legacy is we have to embrace the moment that we're in right now. So when you look at whether it's racism, whether it's people with certain words are loaded. Like when you say racism, when you say Black Lives Matter, when you say white privilege, when you say social justice, like those are words that mean different things to different people. So if I say that word, it may mean one thing to you, it may mean something else to someone else. So I think we have to seek to understand others instead of seeking to be understood first. Like you have to understand my point of view. And I think some of the things that are taking place now are really good because I always say, you got me talking now. I'm supposed to be asking you.
Dude, I'm learning.
Is it dead? Is it dying? Or is it lying dormant? And I think that sometimes we have things that are dead, that are dying, and we have some things that are lying dormant that we think are dead, but something comes along and stirs it up, and then what we thought was lying dormant rise to the top. Yeah. So the things that we're seeing now, what are your thoughts on that? When you saw the George Floyd and some of those things that happened, and we start talking about police brutality was going to be my next one word, but we think about police and all that thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so we'll talk nationally first, and then I want to bring it back home. What happened to Mr. Floyd was horrible. I couldn't even watch the entirety of the film because I wanted to get up. When I saw him, I tried to get up myself. It was horrible. there's been some bad things happen since then as well. So we've taken a terrible moment in time and we've made it worse. We've pulled and pulled and pulled and separated and separated. And so nationally, that's what's going on. And maybe that's just the way things, maybe that's the way things lend themselves to be. Locally, I love these people here. Locally, I will invest myself, my time, my resources to make things better. I would partner with you and team up with you on anything, Pete, especially related to this, because this community is where I live and this is where I matter the most. You said another way. This is where they matter the most to me. So I would invest myself to make things better here. I can't fix Minneapolis and I can't fix other places, but I think here with the right circles of influence, we can make things right. No, not even right. We can make things better. So therefore, the word racism today, I see it as opportunity. And
that makes it really hard when you're looking at multiple, you know, even you mentioned the Confederate statue, you know, you have so many things that are like right in our face, and it's really giving us an opportunity to take. Always say that if your presence doesn't add value, your absence won't make a difference. So how do our presence add value to the conversation about race today? How do we add value to all people? And you can never add value to people that you don't value. So I'm going to give you a couple of more. We can keep on this. I mean, we can. And it'll be 8:30. They'll be like, "Are they going to quit talking?" You know. But I really believe that the day and time that we're living in, it's not always bad when things get brought to the surface.
Correct.
And that sometimes that exposure gives an opportunity to look at something that may have been lying dormant that needs to come to the top so we can deal with it.
Agreed. I like that. Opportunity.
All right, here we go. All right, so Alabama.
The home. See, you almost got me thinking football.
Yeah, I was about to say Alabama Auburn, but I did. Wearing a mask.
Required, but not enjoyable.
Millennials.
Potential and a lot of it.
Faith.
God.
Local church.
Faith in God. Actually, strength as well.
Servant.
Leadership.
Sexual orientation.
Matters.
Tuscumbia.
Home.
All right, you did good. That was good. What you did? Give yourself a clap. All right, you made it through. You know. So as we get ready to come to a close, and you've talked a lot about what you're going to do for the city. You've talked a lot about what your vision is and the things that you have planned. What differences can we expect this time versus the last 4 years? Like just something different that you're going to do that maybe you didn't do last time, whether it's, you know, if somebody called me, I'm going to call them right back, or I'm going to give my personal cell phone out this year. Whatever the case, you state something that you're going to do differently because 4 years ago you didn't know this, but now you know this.
Okay, so since you mentioned that, I would like to give another shortcoming on my part. It is a very busy thing to be the mayor, and I don't know, maybe you overdo. I don't know, but it's a very busy thing for me. And so my ability to be connected to people sometimes suffers. If someone calls and leaves a message, dude, it might be 2 or 3 days before I call back. I'm really bad at emails. Text I'm good at, but I don't want people to feel like because I don't respond in a timely manner as I should, that it's because I'm avoiding or I'm just laying low. I'm really, sometimes it's almost overwhelming the way that this post is connected to other people, other organizations, and it just gets a little overwhelming sometimes. So if I could do better next year, that's something that I would like to do better at, to be better connected to people so that they feel like when they call and check in with me that I respond back in a timely manner. So I got to work on that. But
okay,
I'd like to say in the next 4 years that there would be more of the same. But
okay,
and you know, I just really there is a repurposing that we're going to be doing hopefully that will be a game changer. That I really can't give the details on that, but something I'm really looking forward to. We are going to continue to add to quality of life, and that is in Spring Park. That is downtown. That's in our residentials. There are things that we're going to do to add to that. For instance, we're going to build a kayak launch ramp in Spring Park. That's built in Florence, and it's a nice one. It's well attended, and that's not a fee service for us. That's just a quality of life.
Quality of life. That's needed. That's great. So what would you say has been your greatest accomplishment? Just one thing as mayor.
Oh, that's so hard.
One thing that you can say, I did that. Yes.
That's not my nature.
Not you want to pat yourself on the back, but just, that's your resume. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, when they look back and they say that in 2016 to 2024, or however long you're the mayor, Kerry Bubba Underwood was here. What did he leave? What did he do?
Okay, so the one thing is, I'm really going to tie back to a prior word. I don't want you to think I'm avoiding the situation. I wanted from day one for Tuscumbia to be a pivot point, not just for us, but for the community. I wanted us to be an influence to not just this one city. And I say us because it's a community, but not just us, but to have a influence on this entire community. I wanted people to say, hey, we're thinking about doing this. What do you think Tuscumbia would think about that? And I feel like we've made a lot of strides in that direction because that singular purpose I talked about before.
Yes.
We are doing this for the betterment of the people who we serve. And therefore, I wanted people to be able to say, hey, if they're going to do that, we know it's for the right motive and for the right reasons. And by that, maybe having some influence in the community around us. So that sounds like I don't want you to think I'm past that.
Okay. We'll let you get away with that.
Influence is what
so in 2 minutes, what would you say your greatest failure was over the past 4 years? Like the one thing that you just didn't get it.
Yeah. Okay.
Failure may not be the word. Maybe opportunity for improvement and growth. Maybe we'll use that. What would be that one thing? Just one thing.
Okay, so the one thing is what we've already mentioned because it's important to me in regards that the people who work for the city match the people who live here based on minority employment. We have not done that, and as a mandate going forward, I really want to work on making that a better situation. And it's that's been a failure on my part. It's not one person here, one person there, or the establishment. It's just the fact that I should have seen that as a shortcoming earlier and made efforts to make that a better situation. So that's probably one of my biggest failures. There have been others. I am proud of how we've increased our budget and how we've gotten to a better place with our finances. But in the end, I would like to make sure that we are inclusive and that we are an influence to those around us. So that's my left and right, top and bottom.
And that's beautiful. Even when you talk about influence, having the opportunity, we talk about vision. Those are a couple of quick words I want to give you: vision and strategy, and how sometimes you can have a great vision, but not have a strategy on how to make it come to pass. And then you can have a vision and have a strategy, but not have the people to implement it. And I just end on this, like, it's almost like having a key, I was thinking one day, I don't have my key. I wish I had my keys over here. I would pull them out, but I do have a key. Do it. No, I do not. So imagine, let me ask you a question. Have you ever taken the key that you have to your car and tried to open your front door at your house with?
I have not.
You've never done that. Have you ever taken the key that you open your front door with and tried to start your car?
No, sir.
Never. You've never done that.
No.
Why not? Because you know what?
No, I know which key goes to which door.
And you always use the key that goes in the door. And one of the things that I always say that sometimes certain doors we go in, we don't know how we got in that door. So we got to figure out what is the key to keep getting in this door? Like you said, community, whether it's, you know, I got to relate more with this group of people in this community who may feel left out, or I got to connect more with this business group, or these are like next gen shows, being that young group of young people who are on the cutting edge of doing great things, business minded, entrepreneurs, all those. So I would just leave us with, make sure we're using the right key to get in the right door. And obviously as mayor, you've been using the right key when you connect with people, because that's the one thing that I've heard. But if I don't want to put words in your mouth, if you had to name the one thing that has made you able to relate to everyone, what would that key be?
Oh, to help me relate to everyone?
Right. Or maybe that's the key, that you relate to everyone. I don't know. Maybe I didn't want to answer it. I should have asked the question. But what is that key to Carrie Bubba Underwood being mayor, making the city what it needs to be, creating the changes that you want to see? What is that one key that you have that can make it become what you see?
So there's several factors to having this leadership position. You know, you do need the vision. You need to be able to make that work. You need to see down the road. All those things that you mentioned matter. But there's only one way to connect to people, and that's with empathy. Now, that's a gift and a curse at the same time, because the curse side of it is I feel what they feel, or you feel what they feel if you're empathetic. And that sometimes is a heavy load to bear. Yes. But the positive side of it is I see where you're at, sir and ma'am, and I know where you've been, and I want to help you become something else, because if you need me, I want to be there for you. I can't make that connection if I've not made that empathy efforts toward them.
That's good. Empathy is the word. So you cannot have a conviction without something that you don't have compassion for. Yes. Which makes it compelling to make you do what you do. This has been great, man. Our time is up. I want to make sure I give some just quick shout outs and announcements to let you know that on August the 25th, the polls are open, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Make sure you go out to vote. Make sure you know where you need to go to vote. Make sure you look at the next forums that are coming up. Sheffield's Mayoral Forum is Tuesday, August the 11th. 7 p.m., same place, same time, with Butler Kane. That's going to be at 7 p.m. on August the 11th. And then join us. I think he will have 5 candidates from Sheffield that he will be interviewing. So I think we have 1 or 2 minutes left as we just come to a close. Thank you. I'd like to thank ACE for allowing us to have this set up in the show's Economic Development Center here that allowed us to set up here. Anyone you want to thank, Carrie Underwood, before we come to a close, and then we'll let next take us out.
Yes, sir. I would like to thank, as always, the citizens of Tuscumbia for giving me a chance to serve in this capacity when they did not know me, you know, for years and years and years. It's been an honor and a privilege, and will continue to be so. I also want to thank Shoals Chamber of Commerce. Caitlin and her team help us in every regard going forward with everything related to, you know, the chamber and issues with businesses. And NACOG, Keith Jones and his crew always help us regarding grants. How can we apply for this? They connect us with the DC folks. So they've been good partners for me and for the city. And for that, I want to make sure they hear me say thank you very much. And I look forward to working with y'all again.
Great, great. Well, I just want to make one request. Can we go and do lunch when all of this ends? I believe we could just kind of hang out a little bit. I mean, if that's okay with you. Now, I may not call you mayor. I may just say, Bubba, let's go have lunch. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that. And I'm going to say we should do it next week.
Hey, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Give it up for Next Gen Shows. Again, August the 11th, Butler Kane, the 5 mayor candidates for Sheffield. We will see you next time. Thank you for joining us. My name is Pete Key, and this is the Honorable, the exciting, the mayor of Tuscumbia, Alabama, Mayor Carrie Bubba Underwood, and we're checking out. Thank you again for having us. We'll see you next week with Butler Kane.